So a couple weeks ago, we did a video on the top 5 like craziest deals on guitars and other music gear, like what the craziest stories were. You guys seem to really like that video, so I wanted to do kind of a follow-up to that today and do just 5 guitars that I can't believe that I actually found. These ones aren't necessarily crazy transactions, but just crazy pieces of gear that I'm really glad that I came across, except one of them, which we'll get into that. These are all really fun finds, and let's talk about some cool gear. Number 5 is a Gibson SG500 from 1972. Now you usually see these guitars with a single coil pickup in the neck position and that's it. But this one was a really cool rarity because it had just one single Gibson T-top embossed logo pickup. And this was the only example of this I could find anywhere. We took it apart and did the deep dive on it and figured out that this was 100% the factory pickup, and this is the way this came. It was an all original guitar, but it was the only one that we could find with this exact spec. We're able to date it to 1972 based on that embossed logo T-top pickup, since that's the only year that they used that, and I have never seen another one since, and I would not be surprised if I never see another one. That was a really unique find. Number 4 is one of my least favorite guitars that I've ever sold, and I've actually sold it twice, and that was this really bizarre parts caster. I originally found this, I want to say in like a pawn shop or in a music and pawn for pretty cheap back in maybe 2017-ish, somewhere in Orlando, Florida. And it had a Mexican-made Fender Strat neck and then just a generic body with a mismatch of parts on it. And it had like this crimson red burst on one side, and the other side was just all black. What's crazy about this find is that I bought it, cleaned it up a bit. I actually sold it in a fairly original condition to where I found it, since I just didn't really know where to go with it restoration wise, but sold it online. It shipped somewhere. It stayed in the US, but I don't think it stayed in Florida. And then it actually somehow ended up back in Florida, and I found it at the Guitar Center in Winter Park a few years later. And just because it was so random to find that exact guitar again, I actually bought it from that store because it wasn't priced very high or anything. It was a little bit of room for us to buy it and clean it up a little more. So bought it in again and sold it once again. It's just kind of weird to have found that same guitar twice. But the second time I had it, I realized I don't really like this guitar. I just had to have it because we had it before, and it's sold, and hopefully it never comes back because I don't want to see that guitar again. It was a mess.
Do you think it will come back?
I hope not. If it does, I'm gonna respectfully decline. It actually played fine. Like, it wasn't a terrible instrument. It's really hard to list stuff that is that messed with and make sure that the listing is like accurate. With us, I always go on the conservative end and will just say like, hey, this is in really bad shape. It's mostly unoriginal, whatever. But sometimes we have to get so critical that it actually kind of takes away from what the guitar really is. In that situation, it actually was a pretty cool guitar for what it was and the price range that it was, but it was just such a mismatch of things, and there were so many mysteries that it was really hard to make a listing about it that still spoke positively while still being accurate. So I think our listing probably made it sound like it wasn't great, but it was just a mysterious guitar. So number 3 is not one specific guitar, but rather a group of guitars. And this is the Fender Special Edition Telecasters that have set necks. Most of these have flame maple tops and go under the name the Fender FMT Telecaster. And they made these in Korea and Indonesia from 2003 until now. And there's a few colors that are really common. You'll see the amber ones a lot. You'll see the cherry ones a lot, but you won't see a lot of other colors that they made very often. It's kind of crazy how many of these have actually come across over the years. I've had 2 different blue ones. I've had 2 of the transparent ebony that actually look green. I've had a couple of the GT ones. I've had the Scorpion. I've had a few of the spalted maples. Those are my favorite ones. Those aren't flame maple top. That's a spalted maple, but it's still under the Special Edition Telecaster kind of branding. They're very unique guitars. They're very shreddy for a Fender. They have really thin necks. I personally really like them. Like I said, there's some variants that aren't so rare and some that are, and it kind of just blows my mind that I've found almost all of them at this point. I mean, wouldn't be crazy to find one obscure one, but to find like 6 of them is what's crazy. For this pick, it's just all the Special Edition and FMT and GT Tellies I've found over the years. Very fun guitars and lots of uncommon finishes. So just in the shop right now, we have a Esquire GT from this line. We also have 2 of these transparent crimson ones, which I really like. These are the most common finishes you'll see. There's also a transparent cherry burst that, you know, starts black on the outside and gets into a nice kind of maroon on the middle. Those are the most common ones. We've had the amber ones a few times. The most rare one we have at the shop right now, we'll show a picture of since it's not at this building, is the transparent ebony, which looks green. I've showed those in a couple other videos, but we've actually found 2 of those over the years. Right now is one of the times we actually have one, so hit us up. It might be actually be gone by the time you see this video, to be honest. And my favorite of these personally is the spalted maple ones. This is my original one from 2016, or I bought it in 2016. It's from 2008. And I eventually had a second one of these in my personal collection, which I've sent to a friend of mine, so now I'm down to one for me. I like these guitars a lot. There's many finishes and options to explore. If you've been keeping up with the channel recently, then you've definitely seen this one. This is a very exquisite 1963 Martin 516. So this is a Parlor guitar that was made in very small quantities. I think we figured out there was only 127 of these made. Pretty hard to find on their own, but we actually found it with the original hard case, which was really cool. As of the time of filming this, this is the only one for sale that has that hard case. Very grateful it actually came in with that, because that's obviously not always the case. For how small this thing is, it sounds absolutely incredible, and it's just really fun to play. I always enjoy having these things around while they're in. They usually don't last long, but always cool to have stuff this kind of rare and hard to find. So before we get to number one, I actually had a few honorable mentions, and this is all stuff that we still have on hand. So just gonna go through these real quick. First one's actually right behind me. This is a Gibson Les Paul Classic Premium Plus 1960 reissue from 2000. And this one has a AAA top on it that looks absolutely immaculate. This is just such a great playing and sounding Les Paul, and easily my favorite classic I've ever found. Cool find all around. This one has also been featured on the channel before. This is a 1964 Epiphone FT45 made in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And we found this one at the Indiana Guitar Show, and it's just the best example of one of these I've ever found. Very cool to find stuff that plays and sounds this great, and has been this well maintained all these years later.
Hi, it's Thomas, the guy that films these videos and edits them. Just interrupting real quick to bring my own personal honorable mention. I'm actually just trying to make this video a little bit longer so YouTube likes this more, because it was just coming out a little bit short. But back in 2021, we were getting ready to go on tour again, getting prepped up. The world was kind of going back to normal. I was looking for a new guitar. I've been playing the same 2008 ESP LTD C1000 FM for almost a decade, and I felt it was time for a new guitar. Wasn't really sure what I wanted, kind of was looking around, and then around that time, PRS, I think, announced their new S2 line, or it was new at the time. And I was looking through those by chance and found one I really liked, McCarty 594, had a hardtail, everything I needed for what I wanted to do with it. Was at a Sam Ash for some reason. They had one there, played it, loved it. Awesome, but it was just a little too much. I was looking on Reverb hoping to find a used one, but just wasn't gonna happen because they're all pretty new at the time. But I did happen to find a shop that was selling a used one, made an offer, explained my situation, tour and stuff like that. And they took the offer and they sent it. As I was unboxing it, I realized that it was a brand new guitar actually. And I thought I was getting a used guitar. Instead, I wound up with a brand new antique white PRS S2 McCarty 594. So I can't believe I got that. It was supposed to be a used guitar. I don't know how it happened, but thank you to the shop. Thanks for taking my offer. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll get back to Alex now.
The last honorable mention I have here is actually from my personal collection. This is a 2011 Gibson SG Standard 61 reissue in this very nice ebony finish. I found this one from a terrible listing that just said Gibson SG Black with no picture, but it was a really good price, so I took the gamble, and this turned out to be the exact SG I had been looking for myself. So rather than going to the shop, this went straight to me, and I've enjoyed this thing for a lot of years. Very glad I found this one, especially in the circumstances I did, because I was not expecting this to be a personal find when I came across it. All right, so pick number one. This was the kind of rarest, craziest find that I could think of right now, and it was a Guild F412 in black. This is a vintage Guild 12 string, and the F412 is not a very common model on its own, but finding a factory black one is crazy. This one actually came with all the paperwork, original hard case, and was in amazing condition. Super, super clean. The seller I got it from, they knew what they had to an extent, so we definitely had to pay up for it a bit. I don't think they realized how much the black finish really added to this one, because the F412 is already just a beautiful instrument. But to find one in this color is incredibly uncommon. And this is truly the only one that I could find any evidence of anywhere on the internet, at least as of the time of getting it. Maybe by now another one's popped up, but just really cool find. And as soon as we put it online, there was a collector that came through that also had to have it. They probably still have it now, so if that's you, thanks so much. I hope you're still enjoying that one. I definitely enjoyed it while we had it. I think that was the most exquisite of all the finds. That was just a crazy one-off. Thank you guys as always for taking the time to watch these videos. It truly does mean the world. Let me know down below in the comments which one of these was your favorite. And also, if you guys have any crazy stories of rare guitars you found, please comment that down below. I always love hearing those stories, so I'm excited to see what you guys have come across. If you enjoyed this video, you'd probably enjoy the video we just did on the 5 craziest guitar deals we did. We've also done a few episodes of Fresh Finds recently, as well as some other cool vlogs. So if you enjoyed this, check out some other videos on the channel. Let's keep it going, and we will see you guys in another video soon. Bye.